I did have a story that I mentioned last week that I wanted to tell, and that is, it's very interesting how you meet people along the way in the path of life, and sometimes they're brought into your lives in very interesting ways. When I was younger and I read Dickens, I always thought Charles Dickens had all these contrived plots, because they'd always come at the end like everybody's related, and it always seemed. But what I realized as I got older, that he was actually dealing with the mystery of qadar, with fate, and how things really are interrelated, and how everybody, in some mysterious way, these people that come in and out of our lives, there's just all these really, really wonderful, strange, marvelous connections that you begin to see and discern a pattern. And one of the Ibn Nahwi wrote a beautiful qasida about this, where he said, "Hikamun nusijat biyadin hakamat." You know, these the pattern of life is a carpet woven by a wise hand. But there is a pattern in life, and so I read this article about this extraordinary woman called Hedwig Klein. And Hedwig Klein, she was actually when she was in her 20s, she was studying at the University of Hamburg, and she was a Jewish lady in Germany who was studying Arabic studies and Islamic studies. She actually did her PhD on a history of early Islam. She translated a book from Arabic. So I found out about this lady, Hedwig Klein, and she was such an extraordinary woman. And the way they described her professors, that she was very gentle and very soft-spoken and painfully shy, but brilliant. And so she actually did her PhD. But when the Nazis came to power, they actually refused to, even though she did her dissertation and it was given a summa cum laude, which is with the highest praise. They wouldn't give her, because they wrote on her thing that she was a Jew, so they weren't going to give her PhD. But it turned out one of her teachers, who was a very good man, he asked her if she'd be interested in working on the Hans Wehr dictionary. So she actually got a job with Hans Wehr. And the dictionary was actually commissioned by the Nazis, because Hitler wanted Mein Kampf to be translated into Arabic. And so the dictionary was commissioned by the Nazis. And so two of these Jewish people, one of them was this woman, Hedwig Klein. And she, Hedwig, I think if I said Hedwig, it should be Hedwig. Yeah, Hedwig Klein. So she worked on this dictionary and did exemplary work according to the people that worked with her. But she ended up Hans Wehr tried to keep her on, but the Nazis ended up arresting her in 1942. She actually tried to get out of Germany and got as far as Antwerp, and then her ship was sent back to Hamburg. She was on her way to India. She'd gotten a job, but they sent her back. And so she ended up, it's quite a tragic story. But what was interesting is I read this story, and it really affected me, because I've been using Hans Wehr for, I think, at least 40 years. And I know the book so well, and I've read it so many times. So when I found out that these poor people ended up in Auschwitz and were murdered by the Nazis, I mean, it's enough just to have killed somebody like her, just this really brilliant scholar who should have been allowed to do her scholarly work. But the same day, I got a letter from this organization in Hamburg, Germany, of these Jewish people that asked me to write something about Islamic studies. It was so serendipitous. It really affected me, just because I just was thinking all day about this lady, Hedwig Klein, and just the debt that we owe people. You know, we don't think about the debt that we owe people for the work that they do. Like when you look, all these houses that we're living in, these were built by people, and many of them are now gone. All the food that we eat, who cultivated those lands and did all of that breaking the earth? Like the indebtedness of human beings to other human beings is so great. And we just take these things for granted and we don't think about it. We don't think about all the nights that scholars stayed up to leave these books behind that we read and benefit from. We don't think about all the people, you know, that sewed our clothes and all the things that are done for us. And those are just people. Those, I mean, if we really thought deeper than that, those are just people. Who made those people to do all those things for you? And that's your Lord. And so when you start thinking about all the things every single day of your life, I was once talking to this man, and he said to me, you know, he wasn't a Muslim, but he wanted to marry this Muslim girl. And so he was thinking about becoming a Muslim. And so he asked me, like, you know, what was the biggest benefit of becoming Muslim? And I said, well, I think the biggest benefit is that it's just an extraordinary way of showing gratitude to your Creator, because we actually pray 5 times a day and just turning and being in a state of gratitude. And so then he said, well, yeah, I suppose God's done some things for me in my life. And he literally said that to me. And I just looked down, I said, if I took your temperature right now, it's probably 98.6, or at least thereabouts. Who do you think's keeping it at that temperature? Like, I mean, every single moment of our life, it's God that's sustaining this whole thing. So it's just interesting how people have these perceptions. Anyway, Hedwig Klein is somebody that just occupied my thoughts. And every time now that I go to the Hans Wehr, she does come to mind, you know, this poor innocent little Jewish girl who actually, in a letter, said that she believed that Allah, in the letter she actually used Allah. She said, I believe Allah will help me because I've met one of his friends. And so we don't know who that is, but maybe in the afterlife I'll get to ask her who she was referring to, inshallah. So anyway, that was a story that I wanted to tell.